Okay. So when this words called capital structure theory comes in your mind, the first thing that should strike in your mind is that it is something about how much and from where you should get the funds. So it is basically about arranging the funds from the long-term sources. Well, so predominantly we consider these two funds which are used for financing any businesses for a long period of time. One is equity, another one is debt. Debt stands for the outsiders' money in terms of loans and borrowings. Equity stands for the shareholders' funds in terms of in the company. Now, this capital structure theory tells you that how you can frame your capital structure so that there will be a maximization of your value. So if someone asks you that, sir, what is the optimum capital structure? Optimum capital structure. Then optimum capital structure can be described by two ways. Either the cost should be minimum. Now, when I say cost, that means the overall cost of finance, which is basically the weighted average cost of capital. We also calls it a WACC. The overall cost of finance should be minimized. In other words, the value should be maximized. So what should be the exact value of a firm? So value of equity plus value of debt will be the overall value of firm, which is basically the capital employed. Can also be called as the capital employed. That's the overall value of the firm as far as this capital structure theories are concerned. We want to maximize this value. We want to make the cost of finance minimum. So various experts came, and over a period of time, few theories got developed. I must tell you that it has got a least practical relevance nowadays, but still it is a part of the subject, and every subject should be taught, should be learnt by keeping in mind that it has evolved over a period of time. So if you want to get the in-depth understanding of any conceptual part of any subject, we should also see that what was the deficiency earlier, how that subject has evolved, So if you don't know the context of anything, then you may not be able to comment in the expertise manner on that particular thing. So it's always necessary that initially, when the finance was not very complicated, so how that subject got evolved, how the capital structure theories got evolved. So there was a first theory which was called as the net income theory. Now, as per the net income theory, it tells you that cost of equity remains the same. Now, see here on a y-axis, you have got the percentage cost. Here on a x-axis, you have got the amount of debt. This is the amount of debt you take. That means more and more borrowings you take from the people. Now it tells you that, see, you take higher and higher and higher and higher debt and borrowings from the people. There won't be any change in the cost of equity. Even the cost of debt will also remain same. And because of that, your overall cost of capital, which is also called as the KO, in other words, the weighted average cost of capital, that will reduce. Because debt is always a cheaper source of finance, right? Now, let's take the example. Say, my friend, you have got 50,000 rupees of equity and 50,000 rupees of debt. Now there is alternative number B. You have got 50,000 rupees of equity and you have increased your debt from 50,000 to say 1 lakh. So here the total capital will be 150 and the earlier one was 1 lakh rupees. Now say the cost of equity was 8% and cost of debt was 6%. So how do you find the weighted average cost of capital? Let's find it for company A, or I may say the time period A. So time period A will be, you find the weight as well, right? Weight of equity and the weight of debt in their overall capital structure. So first will be 0.08, that is the cost of equity, that will be multiplied with the weight of equity, and the weight of equity is 50,000 from 1 lakh. Plus you have got the debt as well. So debt cost is 0.06 multiplied by 50,000. The amount of debt is also 50,000 in time period A, and denominator it would be 1 lakh rupees. So can someone tell me what will be the weighted average cost of capital of time period A, please? 0.08 multiplied by, yes please.
0.1.
Point?
Sir, it will be 0.1.
0.1. Check it out. Again check it out.
A 0.07. Sorry, sir.
0.007. 0.07. That means 7% will be your overall cost, right? Now let's take the example of time period B. So here 0.08 multiplied by the weight of equity, which will be 50,000, remaining same, to be divided by the total will be 150 now, right? Because that will be basically the weight of equity. Plus you have got the debt, which is 0.06. Now the weight of debt will be 50,000, because that is, no, sorry, 1 lakh, because that is the new amount of debt we have got now, right? 1 lakh divided by 150. So now you just do the calculation. That means the weight of debt has increased. 1 lakh divided by 150 will be the weight of debt. And the weight of equity has reduced. 50,000 divided by 150. Now do the calculation and let me know what do you get. Can someone tell me please?
6.65.
6.65. So sir, the overall cost of finance has reduced from 7% to 6.65%. And that's very pretty obvious. No, you take more and more cheaper source of finance, obviously the overall cost of capital is going to be reduced. Now because of that fact, your value of your firm will also increase. So that is what this net income approach is telling you, but it takes some assumptions. Assumption is that more and more amount of debt you take, no, it will remain same. The cost of debt will remain same. It was earlier as well 6%, now to 6%, which I feel is not a right assumption, because after an extent, your financial position becomes too risky, and the new loans and borrowings you take from the financial institutions will be costing you the higher percentage of interest. So it will not remain static at 6%. It may further be extended to 7 to 8% in some years to come if you will keep on taking more and more amount of debt. But if the cost of debt remains same and the expectations of equity shareholders are also remaining same irrespective of whatever the debt you take, then the overall value of the firm will get increased. And the overall cost of finance will reduce. This is what the net income approach is all about. Now, I am keeping this for you for a bit of a self-study to explore that little bit in detail. But as far as this MCQ questions are concerned, the questions could be like, Which capital structure theory states that more amount of debt will result into higher value of firm, or more amount of debt will result into lower weighted average cost of capital? So you will say it's net income approach. So not taking the examples of it right now. Let's go to net operating income approach. Only few things I have given to you for the self study, you know, and this is capital structure theory is one thing I am keeping up to you for the self study up to a certain extent. I'm not going into numericals of it right now. Net operating income approach. Now that tells you that, see, your cost of debt will remain same, understood. You take more and more amount of debt. But thing is that you are receiving some benefits from cost of debt. Now investors who are the equity shareholders will increase their expectations because company has started getting the more amount of benefits from the cost of debt. See, what will happen that you increase the cost of debt, no? Then you receive some benefits out of it. The expectations of the equity shareholder will be proportionately increased. वो खड़े हो जाएंगे कि भैया तुम तो इतने बेनिफिट्स लेते हो डेट के, डेट लेते जा रहे हो, प्रॉफिट बढ़ाते जा रहे हो, तो चलो हमें भी डिविडेंड ज्यादा दो आप. We also want a significant increase in the exact same proportion to the benefits you have received from a debt. This is the primary fundamental assumption in this net operating income approach. Because of this, the overall cost of capital remains same, because all the benefits you are receiving from the cost of debt are transferred to cost of equity. They have increased their expectations. Hence, the cost of finance of the overall WACC remains constant. So if the KO remains constant, that means there will be no impact on the overall value of the firm. You know, there will be, yes, value of firm and value of equity, value of debt and value of equity may get here and there, but overall value of the firm will not get changed. It will remain same, constant as it is. So cost of capital remain constant. This is the outcome. As the proportion of the debt increases, the KE increases. That means the benefits of the incremental debt are taken away now by the equity shareholders. They have also started raising their expectations. Because of that, the KE also increasing, and there will be no impact on your cost of capital. The WACC will remain same. Weighted average cost of capital remains same. The third one, which is the Modigliani-Miller approach, which sounds little more rational. It says that, see, overall cost of the firm remains same and the value of the firm remains same irrespective of whatever the capital structure you follow, whether you have the debt or equity or the higher percentage of debt or equity or a higher percentage of equity or debt, whatever the case it may be, the overall cost of the firm remains same and the value of the firm also remains same. But there is a behavioral pattern seen in the cost of debt and the cost of equity. Now, what is that behavioral pattern? It says that, see, cost of debt remains same up to an extent. Up to this extent, it will remain same. But after you will take more and more amount of debt, the cost of debt will get increased. And that sounds rational. You take more and more borrowings from any financial institutions, their interest and your cost will now get increased because you are more into a risky position. Hence, you know, equity shareholders also raise their expectations up to an extent. But once the cost of debt started raising, they stabilized their expectations, and because of which the overall cost of capital remains same. So net operating income approach and Modigliani-Miller approach, in both of this, the outcome is same, that the value of firm is remaining same and the weighted average cost of capital is also remaining same. But there is a slight difference of how the cost of equity and how the cost of debt are behaving. Here, the cost of debt is remaining constant only up to an extent. So you get the additional benefits. Those additional benefits are taken away by your equity shareholders. But once there will be increase in the cost of debt, then the expectations of the cost of equity will get stabilized. And as a result of that, the cost of firm will remain same, overall cost of firm remains same, and value of firm also remains same. That's the Modigliani-Miller approach. Everything remains constant because of the arbitrage impact. Well, there are various numericals, and further there may be a lot of explanation to this, but I am not doing that much to you, you know. पर्टिकुलरली इस टॉपिक के ऊपर थोड़ा सा अपन फेड अप भी हो चुके हैं। अब ज़्यादा पढ़ने का मन भी नहीं हो रहा है। अब थोड़ा सा लिटिल बिट एग्जाम ओरिएंटेड सोचते हैं। अब तक जो भी चीज़ें की है ना, उसके अंदर एकदम दिल से पढ़ी है चीज़ें, राइट, स्ट्रेट फ्रॉम द हार्ट, यू नो। वी हैव सीन various practicals, so many number of things. We tried to make a lot of fun out of it. But I also identified there is a least practical relevance of this capital structure theories in the real practical world too. That's why I'm not giving too much of focus, because it's more sort of, you know, the intellectual pleasure you get by complicating much and much into this, and you solve the numericals of it, and you solve so many other questions and everything. But thing is that what's the practical relevance of it? I really, as a finance professor, do not believe that it has any sort of a practical relevance now. Yes, to understand that how that subject has evolved. Earlier, people used to believe in the net income theory, then they moved their focus into net operating theory. And now in the perfect capital market situation where investors are rational enough to take their decisions, whereas everyone has got the, you know, every sort of an information without any discrimination, Modigliani-Miller theorem also stands true. But it has also got its own assumptions, and from assumptions only the criticisms are born. So that I'm giving to you as a self-study. Have you understood the conceptual understanding about this three? Confirmation from the students, please, all of you. No, iske related math will not come. Math related capital structure theory, you should be aware about that in which theory the value of firm remains same, and in which theory the cost of equity is getting raised or it is remaining same. Only this much of conceptual understanding you should have as far as this capital structure theories is concerned. This is actually a part of second module I'm keeping as a self-study to all of you. Not going much into a detail. You know, there may be a numericals on this, but not going into it. Well, so that's the brief overview of capital structure theories. In case if you want to study further, you may definitely reach out to me. In case you want to solve the numericals from the textbook related to this, you can definitely, without any hesitation, reach out to me. But as far as the delivery is concerned, a bit of self-study I'm giving to you over here, only for this subject, only for this concept, sorry. Rest everything we have done quite much in detail. Now your examinations are coming. You should prepare well for your examinations. For some number of days from now, you should not, you know, ignore your studies. You cannot afford to keep this lightly, take this lightly at a time when you are supposed to perform. Yes, our study, our learning is not based on the examination. I am the strong believer of that. It must be entirely realistic in nature. But there comes a point where you will be judged too, right? This outside world doesn't see anything except your performance. And one of the criteria of your performance is your academic performance. You may have your own talent and skills. You may have various other things into you, but academic performance is still a major criteria for evaluation of any individual. So you cannot ignore, you cannot take this lightly. There must be utmost focus on the examination too. The format of MCQ, the format of examination is going to be MCQ format. Yes, Mr. Naji. See, what happens now is My question paper is always very hard. I agree to this. I deliberately make it little bit hard for attend, because if you have got the practice of swimming in, see the ocean, no, then swimming in river will be easy for you. So if you have got some test and some really hard nuts to crack in mid-semester examination practice, no, then in the final it becomes very easy. That's always been my trend of results. हमारे मिड सेमेस्टर एग्जामिनेशंस में आई टेस्ट द पीपल टू अ मैक्सिमम एक्सटेंट, then they realize that they will have to put more efforts. They get a training about their, you know, their swimming in the ocean, and then the final examination mein ultimately we get the very higher and bright results. वो cricket,
Actually, mid-sem was very easy, so we should expect the same level of difficulty, or you will still make it little
Oh.
tough?
oh, it was easy for you. It's really nice to say that, but from my end, as far as you know, the level of students are concerned, I have definitely tested the students for 20 to 40% of the content. Same
I-
level of now difficulty and
I needed 70% max, so that's okay.
okay, fine. So see, difficulty and everything is pretty much subjective in nature. No, what is difficult for Jigar may not be difficult for Naji, and what may be difficult for Naji may not be difficult for Jigar. So it's very subjective in nature. But yes, I test the intellect of the students up to 30-40% in the examinations, specifically mid-semester examinations. Then finals are not that much complicated. Over there, I reduce the portion just to a 10 to 20%. This has always been my trend in all the subjects I do deliver. Well, so that's it from my side for this entire subject of financial management, a very last session. I must say,
Sir, one more question if you don't mind.
definitely, why not, Mr. Jigar?
Like this sums of dividend growth model and PVCI and PVCO, and this will come like MCQ exams are there, so
See, Jigar, you will have to see that how much possibility is there for practicals,
okay.
because this much of a complex calculation is not possible to be asked in one
So
mark
very
MCQ.
lengthy, sir. That's very
True.
lengthy. That is what I am asking.
True. So majority of your questions will be on your conceptual understanding, that how much well you have understood any technique of capital budgeting or any, you know, method of cost of finance or any concept of financial management we have done till now. So major focus, 70 to 80% of focus will be on the conceptual part. You should go through the meaning, definitions, various varieties to interpret it from a different angles and dimensions. This is where the focus will be.
Oh, sure,
So,
sir. Thank you, sir.
so on a very last time, I wish all the best to all of you. I hope you would have taken some insights from this subject. If I couldn't satisfy your expectations in terms of my inputs, I'm really sorry for that, but I will definitely try to satisfy it if we will be meeting again with some different subjects. And those who have learnt well, those who could find some nice insights and inputs from the subject, I thank all of them. I must tell that I must tell that all of you are very curious. It was very participative class. I could connect to the class even in the online mode, because generally when the teachers are teaching in online mode, then the emotional connection doesn't take place. But that could happen even in the online delivery. So that tells that we enjoyed some kind of a connection. That happens only when the students are participative, when students are free to express their queries, when they are free to express their thoughts, their ideas. And I've always emphasized on creating free environment where people are allowed to do the mistakes, where people are allowed to learn, make errors. Obviously, the offline delivery would have been much better than this, but during this semester, even within the constraints, we have tried to maintain the quality as much as possible. I must tell you that during this entire semester, if you couldn't find something good from my side, if I would have said some bad things, some of the things which were not meant to be conveyed in a personal way, if you couldn't like anything from my side, Michhami Dukhadan for that. Thank you so much for being so participative, being so interactive. I will definitely miss this batch. Well, I don't have any words to say now. Thank you so much. I am overwhelmed by all the comments I am receiving in the chat box. If I will get a chance to interact with you guys again in the next semester, I will definitely take that chance with utmost of enthusiasm. Let's see how that turns out to be. Thank you so much. Take care. Sayonara for the very last time. And in the future too, if you require any sort of a help of mine, any sort of an assistance of mine, whether it is related to subject or not related to subject, whether related to study or not, whether maybe related to your job or placement or any sort of a kind, you can definitely reach out to me without any hesitation. Thank you so much, Michhami Dukhadan, for the very last time. Enjoy your rest of the day. See you. You may put your enrollment number as a mark of your attendance, and then you may disperse from the session.